We are live. Welcome to this week's episode of the Bullpen Cart, presented by ThunderblogSports.com. I, of course, am the G-Man, Jordy Cannell, with me for back-to-back weeks. It's the prophet himself, Greg Piatelli. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Much better intro this week around than last week, and pretty exciting. The New England Little League World Series team started off their tournament with a big win. So take that home to the bank, Mid-Atlantic. Suck it, Jordy.
Yeah, PA lost in the finals for the Mid-Atlantic, so it's a little tough there. But, Williamsport's always the big winner, so we kind of get that by default. And the Phillies single-A short season team is down there or up there, and they're getting a Major League Baseball game, so it's a win in my book and in the Phillies ledger.
Well, it's a big win for New England despite it being Connecticut. And we all know how half of Connecticut thinks of New York, but still a big win for good old Team New England to start off the tournament right. New double elimination, a little different than when we were playing. But
is it really? No more group play?
Yeah, everything's single elimination now. So there's like a winners and a losers bracket.
Wow. A little consolation tournament.
Yeah. And like
double elimination, yeah, I guess.
You only get
that's nuts.
Yeah, you only
just like the College World Series tournament.
Yeah. So the teams that go 0-2, they like. So if you go 0-2 in the U.S. bracket, you play the team that went 0-2 in the international bracket, and that's your quote unquote third game, but it doesn't count for anything.
Oh, so everybody still gets 3 games at least?
Yeah, but it's fucking stupid.
No, I mean that kind of makes sense. It's a little better than the NCAA tournament, where like you basically especially if you're a 4 seed, like you don't really get this as an ACC alum, but for us mid majors, we draw the big dogs in the first game, and then we draw the second big dog. It's UVA, it's Virginia Tech, it's your ACC guys, and you beat up on us.
So
beat up by the next team. So at least we get one more. In this scenario, we would get one more game.
So Syracuse not having a baseball team, I have never once followed the College World Series setup that you're talking about.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I didn't know Syracuse didn't have a baseball team. I would think with such a illustrious athletic program and the big broadcasting school that it has, like baseball has to be a sport that's included in that.
So there's this thing called Title IX. I'm not sure if you're aware. But,
good old Title IX. They used to have baseball.
No, so you have to spend the same amount of money you spend on male sports as female sports.
They never did, and they just didn't like lose it like some like how some schools lost football.
You're doing some terrible hosting by cutting me off every time I.
I'm trying to paint a broader picture.
So the big picture is that Syracuse spends so much money on its men's football and men's basketball, and even men's lacrosse for that matter, that if you look at it, the women's sports are close to 3-1 over the men's sports.
Wow, that's a big statistic there, big ratio.
Like they have women's hockey, women's softball, women's tennis, women's field hockey. They have all these women's sports, but no men equivalent. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we just learned something new, everybody. Yeah. I knew that they had a softball team because I know a lot of girls from like the Philadelphia area go to Syracuse for softball. So I would have always assumed they had a baseball team too, but good old Title IX getting in the way.
Hey, congrats on knowing all those girls.
Yeah, we're acquaintances.
Oh, I don't know if you want to say that.
Whoa, Greg, we're not going that. Let's move on. So, as you all know, Week 18 in the books, kind of getting our way to the weekend. And, Greg, it was an interesting week in baseball. We saw some of the bigger dogs show off their bark, and some of the other ones kind of flounder around. And others win in very interesting ways.
Wow, it sounds like you're trying to hint at something, Jordy.
Well, I mean, so we've seen, some team. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it. I mean, I'm mainly saying this because I watched a lot of the Cubs game last night during my 3-hour flight delay in the Chicago O'Hare Airport, and the Cubs had they had a nice little lead going. Anthony Rizzo hit a oppo bomb grand slam, and then they was tied up 6-6, and then they won on a wild pitch of all things.
Blog never sleeps.
Blog never sleeps. I mean, it was a rough day at the office for me returning from vacation, but I can't get enough of this sport. I love it.
I mean, clearly you watch college baseball World Series.
Well, that was also because, and this is really like going into video games and whatnot, but 2K bought out the rights to Major League Baseball back in the day because EA did it with Madden. So kind of a revenge. MVP Baseball 2005 is EA's last foray into pro baseball. So they used the engine for the game to make a college baseball game, and I actually bought it one year. And I learned all about this. It didn't have every single team, so I couldn't play as Lehigh, but you could make a team. So I made the Mountain Hawks, and you go all the way to the College World Series, and that's kind of how I learned about double elimination tournaments. It was educational in that regard.
What about who does the show?
The show is Sony. So I think the way they got around that was that Sony basically they make the game and they put it on their own product. So I think they're like, we're not selling it to Microsoft and Nintendo, so we might as well be allowed to put it on our own thing. It's not the only thing it's competing with 2K is on PlayStation. It's not on Xbox. It's not on GameCube. And then the Wii and the 360 and now the Switch. And right, I guess the Wii U.
Anyways, nerd alert. Anyways.
I told you. I warned you, and you let me go. So, I mean.
Reel it back in, nerd alert.
All right.
So, big week this week. Jordy, give me your hot team of the week.
My hot team of the week, Greg, is going to be the Cleveland Indians, of all teams. They have won 6 straight, 7 of their last 10. They're now leading the division, and they are now the only team in run differential. They're second in the American League. That's what I meant to get out of leading. Behind the Houston Astros in run differential. Your Boston Red Sox are clawing their way back at the Yankees in that way. But the Indians, they're starting to get it together. Carlos Carrasco is starting to pitch where we thought he should. Corey Kluber, we talked about last week, having a great season. And those hitters are doing pretty well. And they survived today despite Jose Ramirez going out, or they're surviving now in their second game, I should say. They're playing a day-night doubleheader. They won this afternoon. But they're playing pretty well. Their home record is actually worse than their road record, which I feel like in a water always finds its level type of environment. You'll see that start to fix itself, probably in the way of the home record going up and the road record standing pat at 10 games above 500. So that's my team.
What was that analogy you just used?
Water always finding its level.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, the Cubs are the quintessential of this. We saw it in the playoffs where they were underperforming, and then they got back to their mean, right where they needed to in the World Series, and they're doing it again this year. They started out pretty low, the trough of the wave, if you will, to use a little science for you, and it's coming back up. It's going up to the crest of the wave, and who knows where it'll be? Who knows where they'll be in that sort of upward cycle as the playoffs start? But the Indians are sort of in that same boat. They didn't start off the season incredibly well. Now they're 6 games up in the division over the Royals. It's been a fun little run for Cleveland, and they need it right now if we want to bring it out to some other sports, but we won't.
Yeah, no, and that's an obvious choice, having won 6 games in a row. I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to go in a race that's actually still alive, and one that's legit, working hard to stay relevant, and that would be the Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay.
They were both our cold teams last week after being swept by some terrible teams. But this week, turned around so far. They're on a little 4-game win streak, and to the point where they jumped the Cardinals, moved into second place, and now only sit a game back, but it's really 2 half a games behind the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Yeah, their pitching is still up and down. The one thing that kind of scares me is that run differential, and it's specifically their runs against. Their runs for is good. They're second or third actually. The Reds have almost the most in the division, but they're third in the division. They're up on the Cardinals and on the Pirates, who are still hanging in there. But their runs against are fourth in the Central. They're not doing so hot in the National League overall. To give it an idea, Greg, I complain about the Phillies pitching a ton every single week. I do almost, and they've only allowed 24 less runs than the Phillies. So it's not necessarily the best thing in the world. So who knows? I mean, coming back to that wave analogy, are they still on the upward, or are they starting to come back down? But it's a great pick for right now. 4 wins in a row.
If we're talking about teams that are going to make the playoffs and win the World Series, this is a little different conversation. I'm still talking about the hot team of the week, which was the question posed to me in the beginning. Do I think they can win the World Series? Hell no. Do I think anyone coming out of the East besides, or the West, do I think anyone's coming out of the National League besides the Dodgers? I mean, how often does the favorite go into the playoffs and come out the other side as the representative? You know, you're the stat boy, you're the nerd. You can tell me that.
It's actually not a ton in baseball. In other sports, it's a lot, but in baseball, it's up and down. There's a run of wild card teams about 10, 15 years ago, and then one seeds have done better as of recently. The Cubs, notably last year, but it's up and down, and when they can. But who knows? I mean, your point, stays true. If the Brewers can get into the dance, who knows what the hell can happen? Again, other sport analogies we could make, but for your sake, I'm not going to make that, and for my sake, because of that derp face, I'm not going to. But that's a great point.
What's a derp face?
Oh man, you only play them once every 4 years, and every so often in the Super Bowl. The contingent of people that don't like the New York Giants, so that includes those idiots in Texas and those people down I-95 from us. We all don't, we're all in the AFC or NFC East with the New York Giants, and Eli Manning. If you've never noticed, sad faces. Even if he scores a touchdown, it's like kind of a sad smile, and it's a derpy face. It's a derpy face.
Listen, don't even get me started on the Giants. And I mean, when the Eagles are relevant and a loss to the Giants might mean something, we can talk. But don't even get me started on Eli Manning, the Giants.
This is why I said it was saved for you. You asked about the derp face.
Give me your cold team of the week, Jordy. Let's hear it.
All right. My cold team of the week is actually going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's similar to you. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but falling out of second. And now, if playoffs started today, they'd be out of the playoffs. The big thing here is they
just got they're being serious by the Red Sox.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not stepping up where they need to. And we talked about this a couple times since the All-Star break of these kind of put up or shut up series. And the Cardinals had started to put up, kind of being told to shut up. And who knows? I mean, they're in a rain delay right now with the Pirates 5-4. I can't see what inning it is from ESPN, but if it's beyond the fifth inning, they could call that a Pirates win. Who knows? I mean, that would then be 2.5 games out. The Cubs currently have already lost. Or no, they've already won lost. Jesus, Cincinnati and Chicago's logos are way too close. So they'd lose a half game still, but it's not necessarily the best thing in the world for them where they are. And that's just like you said, it's a relevant race. It's the most relevant race where that Pirates team is slowly hanging on. And they're, I'm not saying they're a team that you could talk yourself into, making the playoffs by any means, because they're on the road. But, the Cardinals, these are those kind of games you got to win, that if you're coming into late August and then September call-ups, sure, 2.5 games is very doable, but, it's better to be closer than it is further, and as chalky as it is to say.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I fully am on board. I just think that the Pirates I don't foresee them winning this division. I don't foresee them jumping 4 teams just to get.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, it's the Cardinals, though, that like seeing that sweep by Boston, as great as the Red Sox have been, especially when you're getting mowed down by some great pitching. But it's still something where if you can't put out one game against a good team like that, it's still something where you're really being told to just sit down and let the big boys play.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to the Cardinals, though, they that series with the Red Sox, it was a 10-4 shellacking, and then they actually had a lead into the 9th, and that lost in a walk-off via Namir Molina dropping the relay throw and
throwing it back.
Yeah. So, anyways, my cold team of the week. I was very seriously wanted to say the Houston Astros going 3 of 7 in their last 10, and more recently, splitting with the Diamondbacks, losing 2 out of 3 of the Rangers, getting swept by the White Sox. But honestly, they're so far ahead that how can you really call them a cold team of the week? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go with the other 2 National League teams that currently stand atop the wild card race, but they're not too far ahead of the NL Central teams in the Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals, and Pirates. And that, of course, is the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. Both teams are on a little bit of a skid in the last couple of weeks, or last week, I should say.
Love the pick.
Yeah, so I mean, I know it's two teams and blah blah blah, but for me, I honestly think it's both these teams are on notice now because the Diamondbacks have lost 3 series in a row now, 4 series in a row, including the Giants, and it's just one of those things where I think that they need to certainly figure their shit out because didn't they De La Rosa just went on he's getting surgery. They just announced that today, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it's interesting. Like their pitching staff is, at least has been, one of the better ones in the NL. Second lowest in runs against, behind that incredible run that the Dodgers are on. But I mean, they're not performing well as of recently. And I mean, a big part of it is that they can't really travel, and it's almost inexplicable that their record is so not bad, but relatively for a team that's 13 games above 500, they're 3 games below it on the road. You love to play at home, and that's great and everything, but especially as a wild card team where you're going to be playing your first couple games on the road, assuming you get out of it, which right now they would be, even though they're the exact same record against they might be on the road there. And if you're in Colorado and your pitching's not on that right trend, you could get shelled pretty easily. And I mean, shout out to you for one, Greg, because that was your big prediction coming out of the All-Star break. It was that this gap in the wild card would tighten. So give yourself a little pat on the back.
Hey, listen, they don't call me the prophet for nothing, but
that's true.
The other cold team, again, same division, the Rockies. They got swept by the Marlins, split with the Braves. Lost to the Phillies, but they again, another team tied with that wild card's getting a little closer as we sort of start, as August starts to wind down, kids start going back to school, and then with Arenado leaving the game today for the Rockies, never. What'd you say?
I said he's hurt again.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what could happen. You never know what could happen, and quite honestly, it's the Brewers, Cubs, Cardinals, and Pirates are all in playoff survival mode right now. So honestly, at this point, I could see them catching.
Yeah, it's certainly possible that can become an incredible race down the stretch. I mean, the Brewers are 4 games back of or 4.5 rather, of the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, because they're tied in record. Right. But that can easily tighten. This is one thing that when Matt and I did the NL West to start the year, I was a little hotter on the Rockies, thinking their pitching would be a little tighter. He was very confident on their pitching, but we were worried about their offense. This is kind of where, where that's starting to come into fruition, unfortunately. And it's something where how both of their parks stack, that they need to make sure that they can kind of at least somewhat get their shit together enough that they can maintain 4 or 5 game lead coming into September. Because I mean, there's definitely a lot of holes right at the bottom of the ship, and you can only do so much to plug it up. Losing players to the DL certainly doesn't help.
No, you're right, and by all means, it's especially with the fact that the Brewers are getting hot and the Cardinals have all their pitching, and I mean even the Pirates for now, they're not out of it, and who knows with Pittsburgh, but I think it's one of those things to keep an eye on, and that's why those two teams, I'm putting them on notice as my cold teams of the week.
Yeah, that's a fantastic pick. One I might throw out in the NL or the AL is the Tampa Bay Rays. They've kind of really fallen off in terms of that race. That was something that I think the three of us, you, me, and Stevie G, kind of agreed on, was they were the team that likely would. They've, in their last 10 games, they fell from basically being tied with the Yankees in that second spot in the AL East to now 10.5 games back. They're tied in terms of games back with Baltimore and Toronto. So that's one to be at least worth noting, that that offense is really, really run dry, I think.
Yeah, and it was only a matter of time. It was one of those things where
they're so young.
Yeah, it's just, that's just what happens. It's one of those things that, even you look at the Red Sox last year, they sputtered with their young offense simply because, like you said, everyone's young, but then they had Ortiz and Pedroia, a couple other older guys to bail them out, and the Rays don't necessarily have that big pop, big power, and Archer certainly going on the DL definitely did not help.
Absolutely. Let's move over to the player awards, Matt. We are going to start with our
name's Greg.
Roy Hobbs. What's up?
So my name's Greg. Nice to meet you.
What did I call you?
Matt. It's okay.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. He's always here. He's omnipresent.
Well, he's in your mind, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, the Eagles game where he's doing some live scouting for us and for his dynasty team. It's on the TV, so I guess. But let's move on, Greg, to our Roy Hobbs MVP of the week. For those new to the show, we give out individual player awards, talk about some of the hot players along with those hot teams. We'll start with our batting MVP. Greg, who you got?
Batting MVP for this glorious, glorious week. I wanted to give it to Nunez again after I gave him an honorable nod last week and gave it to him again. But I'm going to switch things up. I'm going to go with a team that is super hot right now. A team super cold right now, but a guy who certainly has cemented himself in the MVP race, and that is Jose Altuve, batting .357 this week and having 10 hits, 2 RBIs, and a home run, as well as 3 walks. So for me, it's him. He's one of those guys that consistently day in and day out does his job, and I think that's what is going to award him the MVP race. And Aaron Judge certainly sucks big ones, so he's done. Thank God. So happy that we're over that. And I got something to say about this too. Yankee fans, they're so quick to talk about, oh, we have all the greatest players of all time, blah blah blah. Here's a kid who did nothing. He had a good hot start, and yeah, he's mashing the ball, mashing homers. But they have anointed him like the fucking next greatest thing since they think he's better than Jeter, and it's like, dude, he's been here he hasn't even had time to untie his shoes in the majors, and you're out here awarding him, giving him fucking judges court or whatever bullshit they do in the fucking outfield. Get the fuck out of here. How would he win the World Series? How would he win something other than hitting 37 home runs or some bullshit? How about let's do something different. So I'm so pumped Altuve is going to overtake him, and I'm so pumped that some other rookies are coming into the forefront for the Rookie of the Year, but we can get into that later. So who's your Who's your hot batter of the week, Jordy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the chalk pick. I'm gonna give it to Giancarlo Stanton. It's hard to not give it to a guy that hits 6 home runs in as many games. Mashes that. He also has 13 hits to your 10 for Altuve. Batting .464 on the week, slugging percentage of 1143 because of those 6 homers. He had 1 double, no triples, stole a base as well, so a little bit of speed. Walked twice, struck out 6 times. As a home run hitter, might want to see that be a little better. But I mean, the big thing too is that he's getting on base and he's coming around. He had 9 runs, so 3 of them were not his own doing. Miami's where they're at. They're not in it at all, but it's fun to see that he's still relevant and that he's, coming back from the injuries he's had over the years and is still that ball masher that we've grown accustomed to.
Yeah, no, and I'm hoping that he, I'm hoping he comes close. I think he might be able to make a little run here towards the 61 record
60 mark.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the first one since Bonds and that whole crew.
Bonds and Sosa in 2001.
Yeah, obviously he's not on pace to hit 75, but I think he could take a little run here, right? Let's see, what is he at this right now? He's at 44.
44, yeah. Marlins record. He broke that this week as well. Did you see that there's some rumors thrown around that he might be a waiver wire? I mean, do you think if you were a team and you had the opportunity to trade for him right now, I mean, you'd almost have to, but would you? Would you want to try to give that up? And do you think you'd do well outside of Miami?
Yeah, dude, you would 100% do that, especially if you're a team that needs some offense, like the Red Sox, who fucking have no long ball or no fucking. They're the only team in the major leagues without a fucking grand slam. Even the Phillies have a grand slam. The Red Sox are the only team in the fucking major leagues. That one, the power numbers, like right now, you got Benintendi leading the team, like the last 2 weeks in RBIs. Like, yeah, I think there are teams that would 100% go after Giancarlo Stanton, and I think the Marlins would be so stupid to do that because this is a guy who's 7 years, 8 years into his career, and is he how old is he? Is he 99 or is he 90 like us, or is he 89? Like, is he 26, 27, 28? Like, you're not. That's your franchise. You don't trade him.
So to answer a couple of your questions. Especially 7th year in the league.
They just sold the team. That'd be so stupid. Yeah.
To DJ. But to answer your question, 7th year in the league, born in 1989. And that's sort of that was the answer I was looking for, is it'd be dumb of the Marlins to do that. And that was kind of the side I was coming on. And the reason why I was asking if you were the team trading for him, I mean, if you're Miami and you are actually considering shopping him, especially this late, fleece him, right? I mean, that's the only thing you'd have to do. And some of those bigger name teams like you threw out, I mean, you might be able to get some of those higher name prospects for it because the time is so low for need, and you kind of got to pay a little higher for it. That weird time dynamic and the supply and demand factor of what you'd need. So that was where I was coming at pause. I mean, if I was a team and I could get them for the same value I could have in June, yeah, absolutely, I'd do that. But sort of given the fact that time's running out, in other words, so you really need them. You can upsell them a ton if you're Miami, if you're considering it. That's where I was getting pause. That sort of to defend my obvious question to you.
Yeah, no, I don't think I don't think that he should be on the waiver market and all that, but let's go ahead and move on to the next category.
So I got 2 for my Billy Chappell pitcher of the week. I'm going to give you my first one. I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to come back with my second one. Sound good?
Listen, it's your show, bud. I'm just along for the ride.
Hey, we're partners in this. We double check. We double check. We ride together. We die together. Blog boys for life.
Let's go. I need it.
What? You need Bad Boys 3?
I said I need you to give me the answers right now. Let's do it.
Marcus Stroman, little USA and Canada action.
Very nice.
2 starts this week, went 14.1 innings. He did pick up a loss, but that sort of solidifies why it's amazing the fact that he pitched the third most amount of innings out of all the pitchers across Major League Baseball. He struck out 11, which is not up there, but the fact that he's able to get a loss with a whip below 1, he's one of the only pitchers to do that at 0.98, and an ERA that's 1.26. He only let up 2 earned runs. 6 of them, he did let up a total of 6, so he kind of had a little bit of defensive faux pas around him, but I mean, he's doing as much as he can with that sort of floundering Toronto roster that's around him, and I mean, it's nice to see. We saw that a little bit in flashes of it in the World Baseball Classic, and it's nice to see he's coming back around to this.
Yeah, it's just too bad. He's just on one of those teams that is nowhere to be found, Yeah, so my pitcher of the week has to be from your hot team of the week, Danny Salazar from the Cleveland Indians.
Oh, yeah, great pick.
He's 2 games, 2 starts, only giving up 2 runs total for the week, with ERA averaging to be 1.46, and then he had 18 strikeouts along the way. And obviously, like you said, that team has certainly positioned themselves to be peaking at the right time, hopefully for them. Obviously not for the Red Sox, but hopefully for them. So for me, it's Salazar. Now, I wanted to say I was going to give it to Clayton Richard from the San Diego Padres, having 11 strikeouts, 2 starts, only 3 runs. But at this point, I know the spirit of the award is to give it to the best player of the week or pitcher of the week, but for me, I feel like it has to be at least a team that is somewhat in the thick of it.
No, we can give some shout-outs. Like, one I want to give is to the man who's sadly selling his former home here in Philadelphia. That's Cole Hamels. He had a nice little week for himself, especially coming off of injury. Another one to look that did pretty well in that same light, Garrett Cole for the Pirates. He's the one keeping them together. He let up a few more runs than we might want to see, an ERA of almost 4.5, but he struck out 16, so there's a little bit of dominance there. But Greg, shout-outs are always welcome in these segments. We want to throw out as much news for the people as possible.
All right, big fan. Moving on. Here we go.
Well, so my other Billy Chappell for the week, Greg, because you always call me out when I don't do the bullpen guys. I don't give them the love.
Yes, sir.
And, all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna give it to a guy that we talked a little bit about in our trade deadline recap of a move that I think we all agreed was great for Washington, and that's Brandon Kinser. 4 starts in the last 7 days, converted 2 holds out of it, struck out 4 in those 4 innings, only allowed 3 hits and a run. So, I mean, that's a run of over, or an ERA of over 2, but I mean, ERAs for relievers are kind of a wacky stat anyway. But I mean, that's some good stuff in terms of what you wanted for him. And I think is a team that we kind of don't give all the love to because they're never that dominant in terms of how they do week over week, in terms of being a hot or cold team and whatnot. But giving them the shout out and the credit where it's due and building up for what they need to get the ball across the goal line in the playoffs. This is definitely something that kind of proves they're taking those correct steps.
Listen, if you were going former Phillies on the Washington Nationals, I thought you were going to go with Jumbo Joe Blinn or
Jumbo Joe,
or your boy Ryan Madsen.
Right, I forgot about Ryan Madsen.
Both those guys had good weeks. Jumbo Joe pitched 1 out for 1 game with 1 strikeout. So good for him, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was the forgotten one in that 5-man Uber rotation that only made it through to Game 5 of the NLDS.
Surprisingly, he had a great year though. Jumbo Joe Blinn, the year that they had that unbelievable little pitching staff.
Well, he had a good run as a Philly when he was a starting pitcher. I mean, he was kind of that key move that kind of goes unsung in 2008 when Ruben Amaro Jr. picked him up. He of course hit the home run in the World Series, and then he did pretty well. Me saying he was the forgotten pitcher was when in spring training they go to Cole Hamels and ask him, hey, you have this rotation of superstars. What's it like being the only one with a ring? Sitting right next to Joe Blanton goes, what do you mean? And he points to Joe. So that's what I was getting at after that. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to see former Phillies do well. You always root for it, especially in these rough times as a Phillies fan.
Great segue for us. Do you want to give us a quick week update for the Phils?
Week update is definitely the way to put it, Greg.
Little pun.
Yeah, it's a great pun. So Greg, we were pretty. We did our last episode on the heels of a 10-0 loss to the New York Mets. That yielded into a run this week of, if you include that game, 1-6. You do get a win against the Mets. I got to see that last Saturday, but they lose Friday in a close one, 7-6, win 3-1 Saturday, lose pretty handedly in the next 4 games. That final game against the Mets on Sunday, and then they fly out west. And another wacky kind of MLB scheduling faux pas. They went out west a couple weeks ago to LA for the second time because they played the Angels, and then to Colorado, and then back to Philly, or then to Atlanta and back to Philly for a weekend trip. So they've gone east and west twice in 3 weeks, basically. But they got swept by the Padres. Really, really stings because they're this close to not being the worst team in baseball. They're pretty far in terms of the National League, but the White Sox are right there. But they're about to start against the Giants tonight. A nice little 4-game set in San Francisco. So that'll be interesting to see 2 of those bottom dwellers battling it out, which I'm sure our listeners would love to hear more about.
This is a race for worst place.
What?
This is a race for worst place.
Let's see. The Phillies are 43-75. No, so the Phillies could put themselves a game behind the Nationals, or not the Nationals, the Giants in terms of worst place. Or maybe not. They only have 1 more loss. So they could actually, they might be able to come out of this if they sweep them, and would be 47-75. Giants would be 48-78. Yeah, they'd have less losses, 1 less win. They might not have the worst record. So yeah, battle for worst. Let's do it, Greg.
I honestly think there's some tanking going on, if I'm being honest here, based on the fact that the 76ers tanked and now they got the first pick, and I think your boys over there at Philly, the Citizens Bank Ballpark, they're gonna do a little tanking as well.
Yeah, I mean, trust the prospects is the Phillies slogan right now. We've had a nice little run in the minor leagues in terms of Reese coming up, hitting his first 2 dingers this week in San Diego.
Conversation immediately.
Well, I mean, Jorge Alfaro, he's had a nice little run. Dylan Cousins down in the minors. Sixto Sanchez all the way down in the minors, doing very well. Number 1 pick, Mickey Moniak, is performing very well. J.P. Crawford finally kind of turning his season around over the last month and a half. It's been a nice little run, and it's certainly positive in terms of where they will be. 2019 opening day is going to look a lot different than the current lineup right now, and at least in position players. But they have some cornerstones right now that if they keep solidifying themselves, will be here for a while, and then it's a matter of waiting for the rest to come up.
I love it.
So let's get a little Red Sox take from you.
Yeah, I mean, the Red Sox, after sweeping the White Sox in a 4-game set, sweeping the Rays in a 2-game set, winning 2 out of 3 versus the Yankees, really should have been a sweep, but they blew the Friday night game. They had a makeup game with the Indians along the way that didn't go well for them, but they pitched Doug Fister, so not much to be expected there. And then a couple nice wins against the Cardinals here at home, and now they're heading into another day off today, and then heading into another 3-game weekend series with the Yankees, this time at Fenway Park. So
yeah, I mean, it's like I said, like I've been saying, it's going to be haymakers, and I think this week weekend series, not to get ahead of ourselves of what to look out for, but a couple games on national TV, a lot of great pitching, a lot of great hitting. Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, it's, I think either team, one's going to be the wild card, one's going to be the division winner. I think the Red Sox will be division winner, but obviously there's no bias there. I think Nunez has been an unbelievable addition, and I think, adding him was a great move by Dombrowski, and one that certainly no one could have foreseen. At least I definitely could not have. And then bringing up Devers, a nice little rookie. He's been doing unbelievable as well. Getting rid of Pablo Sandoval obviously is always a plus. And people forget that David Price has been out this whole time, and they're only going to gain because Pedroia has been in and out of the DL, so they're only going to gain with Pedroia and Price coming back.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you brought up Devers, Greg. That's a perfect segue into our final individual player award. That is our Henry Rowan-Gardner Rookie of the Week. And, Devers is definitely a candidate up there. Who do you got?
Well, Devers is in the Major League spot. He's been there for a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and say Tim Tebow, simply because I want him so badly, more than anything else, to be in the majors. And I think he needs to start stringing together some quality ABs and little batting average there, so that he can be added to the 40-man roster and called up in September.
So he's your Crash Davis minor leaguer of the week, in other words.
You said Rookie of the Week. I'm sorry, I know, but I was just so excited to jump on top of the minor leaguer Crash Davis Award of the Week that I jumped the gun. I'm sorry to everyone listening.
It's okay.
I blame Jordy because the Google Hangout didn't work. But quick thoughts about Tim Tebow and the Mets have nothing else to lose because they might as well bring him up at this point. And then I would love to get back to the topic that you brought up in the first place.
Could you imagine if Tebow comes up to Citi Field and hits a dinger, just like he's playing, like they're playing the Nationals, and Scherzer like tries to hit him because he's crazy that way with his different colors, and Tebow looks at him like, "I forgive you, my son," and he grooves one in, and Tebow just nails one out. This is what Tebow does. I hate the Mets, and I'm giving out some fan fiction of how the New York Mets will have this grand moment of their season. Their season will be saved by this man.
Yeah, and guess what?
What?
I agree. I think 100% he should be up there.
Oh yeah. I mean, it'll be cool to see. I mean, see him kind of do his little tour around, and I mean, he's done way more than anybody's thought he would ever have been able to do. Because everybody really doubted this when I think it was about a year ago he announced it. Everybody's like, what's he doing? What's this publicity stunt? He played a little bit in spring training and didn't do so well, and hit a couple walk-offs with the Augusta Green Jackets, I believe is who he was playing for to start. And slowly but surely he's making his way through the ranks. And who knows? I mean, if he does get added to their 40-man roster, it'd be exciting to see.
Agreed. So my Rookie of the Week, and I wish Tebow would be called up soon, but my Rookie of the Week, I'm going to give Paul DeJong a little nod from the Cardinals, averaging 500 this last week, 7 RBIs, including 4 doubles. So good for him. Good on you, mate. But I have to go with either Benintendi or Devers, both in the Red Sox. Benintendi with 10 RBIs, including 4 home runs this past week, Jordy. Okay? Kid had 8 hits total, and 4 of them were home runs. Okay?
It's nice. It's a nice little run.
Figure me that out, right? And then Devers out here, 6 RBIs, 9 hits, 3 home runs. So 6 RBIs, 3 home runs, 9 hits. His average for this week was 409. So a little higher numbers, less home runs, a little less RBI, but higher average, and got on base just touch more. But the point is, both those rookies, too good to not give it to both of them. and they're a huge part of the Red Sox success.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good little double take there. Mine is gonna be DeJong. I think you're batting 500 on the week, 12 for 24. Excuse me. Strikes out a little more than you might want it at 8 times. That's leading most of the rookies I can see here, or at least the ones that are above. Really the top 10. But I mean, 2 homers, 7 ribbies, walked twice, OPS of over 1,400. So that's really what you want to see. A team that I gave the Cardinals a little bit of doubt, but this is a guy who will become your next minor league story. This is something that the Cardinals have always really been able to do, is produce. And here's a guy who's already doing it since basically July 1st. And he's going to keep going, and it's going to be a nice little run for them.
I agree, and we talked about it earlier that they're certainly a team to look out for, and certainly a team to keep their eye on moving forward, especially in that tight race. And it's definitely not going to be easy, but having him play the way he played is certainly hopefully will help them. So I know get on you a lot, blah blah blah. Pitcher of the week for rookies, what do you got?
Pitcher of the week for the Rooks. I have, and give me 1 second to load that up, but I got for you, Gregory.
Well, I can give you mine while you're loading up.
Yeah, give me yours while I load mine up.
Hey, load yours up, and I'll give you mine. It's actually
keep me on my toes. Props to you.
Thank you. It's actually going to be a bullpen guy, if you will.
Ooh, all right.
Big bullpen guy.
Let's hear it.
Okay, Alan Busenitz from the Minnesota Twins. I probably butchered his name. I'm sorry, Alan. 1L. 5.1 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Picked up a win, 0 earned runs, and a .56 WHIP. 5.
It's pretty dominant.
It is. As a relief pitcher, that's really good. I understand it's for the Minnesota Twins. However, good on you, mate.
Very good on you indeed. For me, for my rookie of the week in terms of the pitcher, there's 2 options you could really go with. One's Luis Castillo, the pitcher for the Reds, who in a rough week for the Reds, at least didn't come away with a loss in an ERA sub 3. But the guy I'm going to give it to has a little more strikeouts, has a little higher ERA, but a little more control. That's Dinelson Lamet of the San Diego Padres. 12 innings pitched, had a win, a whip of .83. He only had 4 walks, 12 strikeouts in those 12 innings, 3.0 ERA. So, I mean, that's right on par of what you want to see, especially out of a rookie.
What's his name?
Dinelson? Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah.
If you rewind the tape, you said Diddleson.
I definitely did say Dinelson. I was trying to. My mind was too focused on trying to pronounce his last name that I like. Dinelson Lamet. Yeah. And I'm sure I didn't do that. I'm just making up excuses for myself as I go along. But one thing about this guy that
Diddleson,
good old Dinelson. But
hey, listen,
one thing for certain. For certain salary capped activities, definitely a guy to and I know we haven't done fantasy guys in a while, but he's somebody that as a rookie and as kind of a little more of a volatile guy, especially on a team like the Padres where you don't get a ton of run support. He's a guy that can perform well, and this is definitely one of those waves where you're catching him pretty well. So if you are still in the position where you might need a keeper or 2, a young guy to look out for, a quick little fantasy update for you, he might be a guy to check out for. Paul DeJong is probably gone, but there's a lot of pitchers still out there. Jake Faria is there. He didn't have himself that good of a week. That's a guy I have on a couple of my teams. But that's something you want to look out for, especially in keeper leagues. You can probably get him for pretty cheap because those guys that are in the running have either made trades to trade away some keepers or maybe some free agent dollars. And, guys like our boy Dinelson is probably hanging around.
Love it. All right, moving on. What's next?
So up next, Greg, is the fan favorite section, little stadium snacks. And really quickly, Greg, have you been on our Twitter today?
Honestly, Jordy, I don't have access to the Thunderblog password to go on the Twitter. However,
have you looked at the Twitter?
I have been on my own Twitter feed, and I did have a quick glimpse, but it looked like a football stadium snack, not a baseball stadium snack.
Well, so I do have a baseball one, and then the football one itself is on our Twitter. You can find the link to my baseball one and a bonus vacation stadium snack. That's ThunderBLG is our Twitter handle. So I'm actually going to go through all three. If you want to pepper in one in between, please go right ahead.
Hey, Jordy,
my baseball one.
What's the Instagram?
Instagram is Thunderblog Sports. That one's easier to remember. You don't need to forget some vowels in that one. But with the Thunder BLG, Thunder Blig, as I like to say, we want to save your characters to tweet at us. So please do. Please tickle me that way.
Whoa!
Yeah, tickle me fancy.
Diddleman tickle me to.
So my baseball stadium snack is gonna be the hot dog of the week at the Phillies. For those that are not aware, I've been trying to test out each hot dog of the month the Phillies do. This month for August, it's the Hawaiian dog, which, Greg, is an all-beef hot dog with chopped pineapple, chopped Spam, and teriyaki sauce drizzled on top of it. It was actually pretty good. I was very unsure of the Spam, especially at a baseball stadium, but it worked out well. The teriyaki sauce really brought it all together. I think it was the chopped pineapple might have been a little bit grilled, which if you've never had grilled pineapple, go buy yourself one. Buy yourself a grill or one of those griddles you can put on top of your stove and have at it. You're going to thank me later. It's honestly very good.
That whole food you just described was disgusting.
Yeah, it sounds disgusting, and I was very nervous to try it, but I think the teriyaki sauce brought it all together. But before I get to my little
yeah, 1 to 5. 1 to 5. Would you eat it again?
I'd give it a 1. No, I would never eat it again. Well, we've gone over other stadium snacks at Citizens Bank Park that I'd rather go get, and I mean, now that I'm not obligated to go test out August's hot dog of the month, I'm free to have my usual snacks. I'm a man of habit.
Listen, you don't have the stadium snack doesn't have to be good every week, so I'm glad we diversified our profile and gave something that you didn't like. Yeah, I mean, we got to have some losers in there. We can't be all winners. No millennial mindsets here, Greg. Well, I love it. Let's do it. Moving on. Here we go. What's next?
My bonus vacation one, I was out in Michigan, up at my grandfather's place, right on White Lake, Michigan, and off the big lake itself, Lake Michigan. But they have an ice cream brand out there called Hudsonville. They have a few different flavors that are named after various locales across the state. One of which is named after the island of Mackinac. Mackinac Island fudge is a food they export out of there. Very, very good itself, the actual chocolate. But the ice cream itself, also called Mack Island fudge, incredible. Has a little bit of actual chunks of fudge within it, a little bit of chocolate sauce, little bit of nut in there. I mixed that with cake batter. Their cake batter is actually yellow, which I actually think is pretty cool. Had that in a giant waffle cone. That's on our Instagram, Thunderblog Sports, as Greg asked me before. And
isn't most cake batter yellow?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, and that's actually one that I've noticed as I've gone through the various different types of cake batter ice cream I've tried. Down here, Turkey Hill ice cream, their cake batter is yellow, but it's more of like an off-white color, more creamy color, like a vanilla cake, that color before you bake it. You know what I'm talking about?
I understand the cream off-white. vanilla yellow tint that you're talking about.
Yeah, but this is like yellow, like not highlighter yellow, but yellow. Like think Batman's logo yellow.
All right.
Yeah, you know. So it's good. Check it out on our Instagram. If you ever get out to Western Michigan, and I'm sure they sell it in Central Michigan as well. I've just never really spent any time there. Most of my time in the state has been out in White Lake in the Muskegon area. But then, yeah, today we discovered the number one craziest stadium food in 2017 is at Lincoln Financial Field. So it had to be mentioned tonight, Greg, especially with the Lynx first outing with the Eagles. It's called the Slim Chicken. Greg, this is what I was asking you about before. Have you seen this on our Twitter page?
I have seen it on the Twitter page.
Those that haven't, this sandwich is a fried chicken breast that's fried in frosted flake batter. So frosted flakes, deep fried, a piece of, I believe it's Gouda cheese on top, couple candy bacon strips on top of it. And the bun, Greg, is a deep fried apple fritter.
A deep fried apple fritter, huh?
Oh, yeah.
See, deep fried apple fritter. Have you had it? Have you tried it?
No, I haven't been to the link yet this year. It's new for the new Eagle season.
Send Matty D a text. Let's see if we can get a live review as we're potting.
Doing that, he's too busy scouting. He wants to try to get a leg up in our dynasty league.
Nah, classic Matty move. I don't even know this.
As we're in the 20th round of our league, we're picking fifth round running backs or fifth string running backs.
Seriously, enough. It's miserable. Anyways, enough about us, Jordy. Let's get back to the topic at hand. The lecture.
Do you have a stadium snack for the fans, Greg?
No, I have not been.
No.
I have not been to Fenway or any park for that matter. However, I was down at beautiful Cape Cod, down on the Atlantic Ocean over there. I don't know if you guys have that in Philly. But
no, we just have two rivers. We're not close enough to the ocean. There's some people think we should blow up New Jersey so we get an ocean, but I'm not one for blowing up land masses.
That just seems extreme, especially with all that's going on currently. But yeah, so I had a beautiful, wonderful lobster roll down in good old Cape Cod, and that was, for lack of a better word, amazing. And, if you haven't had a lobster roll from Cape Cod, I recommend it.
I've had in New England, not in Cape Cod. I've done them in Rhode Island, which is pretty good. I know we've talked about it before in your feelings on the state.
No.
Done them out of Berkshire, so I feel like that's the furthest to Massachusetts I could have gotten from the Cape. So I think G-Man making a little trip up to Cape Cod is in order.
Or even head up to Maine. The Maine lobster roll is pretty famous as well.
That's true. The Maine lobster. It's the starring role.
Yeah. So no, for me, no stadium today, but they do have the Cape Cod Baseball League. So I guess we can count that as a stadium snack. So ipso facto, I win this one again.
Yeah, I mean a little backdoor victory for you out of nowhere. You know,
listen.
Yeah, really came out of nowhere at that one. I was who was it? John Lundy looking over my shoulder, and you ran right by me. That famous race.
You came out there with 3 stadium snacks, and I came out with a vacation down the Cape and turned it around and flipped it into a great stadium snack. But let's.
I'm glad you say down the Cape because we stayed down the shore to go to the Jersey Shore. So that I'm glad that we can at least agree on one grammatically incorrect phrasing of how we take our vacations in our respective regions.
Well, we actually say, "Oh, I was on the Cape."
All right, fine. Be grammatically correct. I was trying to see if we're on the same level, but be the New England elite, a little more.
Hey, Listen, if you're not New England elite, do you really matter?
Jesus. I mean, where was America started? We don't need to keep getting into these.
Where was America started? Do we have to get into the Plymouth Rock and all that stuff, or
Yeah, where did it become official? Where was it legally binding?
legally binding? Well, I mean, if we're talking about when things went into effect, where the war was won, or are we talking about
let's not bring Virginia into this. They don't count.
Are we talking about when a little piece of paper that meant nothing at the time was signed? You and I could write a piece of paper that says, "All right, we are now running the U.S." We could sign a piece of paper, but it would mean absolutely nothing until we actually won a battle against the United States and took it for ourselves. So, quite frankly, your little claim to fame, Philadelphia, where America started, is just a moot, irrelevant point.
Ooh. All right. Before we let these fighting words become computer tossing words, let's move on. Get some bleacher creatures, and we referenced it before, but the Little League World Series is back. We've talked about it a little bit last week, but I mean the whole tournament's basically bleacher creature heaven. And you've been down before, and there's a ton to do there.
Yeah, no, it's a blast. It's there's so much to do there. There's so many interesting characters to see. It really is the whole town surrounds this one event for about a week or 2 weeks in August. So it's pretty crazy to see, and quite frankly, it's definitely a spectacle that people should get down to. But you're right, ton of bleacher creatures coming in for next week from there. My bleacher creature, something that I griped on earlier, is simply this: the fact that the Yankees have proclaimed in their little judges' stable or whatever the hell court bullshit.
It's not a horse; they're chambers.
Whatever the hell it is, no judge wears a fucking robe in his chamber. But regardless, my bleacher creatures are actual creatures, and those are the ugly bleacher creatures who wear robes in Aaron Judge's quote-unquote chamber for someone who has done absolutely nothing for the Yankees other than win a home run derby, which is a meaningless spectacle of a bullpen or a pregame batting session.
Sure.
And quite frankly, those are my gross bleacher creatures for the week. And the reason why I'm bringing it up now is simply because the Red Sox had they were in my forefront, and I was forced to watch the game on ESPN, and ESPN could not ride that little gap-toothed piece of shit rookie, stupid-ass penis and a stupid-ass fucking judge's quarters more. And quite frankly,
Jesus.
I'm sick and tired of it. And I know that the Thunderblog pod has always been a family show, but I had to use those harsh words via this, and you can bleep me out so you can keep it TVMA13.
Well, we've always had the good old explicit tag on iTunes, so family show. I'm not sure we are, but
listen, thank you for letting me rant on that.
Oh no, it's necessary. I mean, I agree with you though. There's some people that I think we both know from high school that like have popped up on my social media that live in New York. Other people I know from college or just from other walks of life that I've seen on like Instagram, Facebook that go to a Yankee game and basically like they're not even paying it. Like going to the Yankee game almost feels like it's a social event. Not that there aren't diehard Yankee fans. There are plenty of those, but like the social aspect, at least for some of those people that come on now, and not even knowing that Aaron Judge is stunk in over for about a month, and it's still like, oh, gotta see the Judge in his chambers. Oh man, gotta go down. Like,
yeah, I mean the problem is pretty simple. It's the fact that like, the ownership group made their tickets. They priced out their fans.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And I mean, part of that has to do with socioeconomic within New York itself, of how just expensive that city is and just how much it costs to build something. But they certainly they didn't need to build luxury boxes all the way down the third and first base lines. They could have just stuck with in between the dugouts, like most stadiums do.
Or just add seats and make people sit on top of each other's laps like they do at Fenway.
Or do what the Phillies do and have a ton of standing room, which is actually awesome. I'm not making a joke of that. It's a good time, great views.
Or do what the Phillies do and make their stadium the easiest stadium to hit home runs out of, except for Coors Field out in Denver.
Well, yeah, it's a nice lefties park. There's a nice little breeze that flies out of there. Coors with the thin air. But let's Greg, do you have any beers that you wanted to bring up? A little beer corner. Should we reserve that for whenever Matty D decides to stop scouting the Eagles?
Honestly, Jordy, I was on vacation, so it was a lot of Corona on the beach, as well as a little mudslides and type drinks. So for me, nothing good from the whole beer corner, unless you're a fan of vacation beers, which I think most people are. How about
huge fan of the vacation beer. I happen to be where I am, Muskegon, or basically Muskegon's Whitehall, Michigan. Muskegon's the bigger city you might have heard. The one you definitely probably would have heard is Grand Rapids, which we're about an hour north of. The Founders Brewery is right there. Bell's, which is in Comstock, which is basically as you're driving into Grand Rapids, it's on the way. We've talked about this. We talked about Oberon Day. But the Two Hearted Ale was one that you can find up there for pretty cheap. So that was our, vacation beer of choice. So I had a lot of those on the golf course, a lot of those on the boat, a lot of those on the beach. It was a nice little couple days of Bell's Two Hearted, and it was kind of a lost love. I drank a lot of that. I turned 21 and was discovering Bell's out there, and it came east, and I had it a few times, and other different Philadelphia brews, New England brews kind of made their way into Philadelphia as well, and kind of made their way into my repertoire. So it was nice to rediscover the Two Hearted Ale. It's an IPA, very good if you've never had it.
I love it. Hey, Jordy, great beer corner from you today, bud.
Yeah, I want to bring it back, and we don't always need Matty D for Matty D's beer corner. I think we've learned that the our way, if you will, the Frank Sinatra style. We did it our way. Nice. But let's look at this weekend and next week. The housekeeping of it. We'll be back Sunday for Game of Thrones. Probably try to do baseball some point earlier next week. I won't be on vacation, so I won't be forced to do it on Thursday or out on a conference.
Did you miss?
We're also trying. What was that?
Did you miss Game of Thrones this week? Right, you missed that.
I did, yeah, because I drove out to Michigan on Sunday and missed it live, so I didn't even watch it until Monday.
Here's Cotton.
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw the episode. I mean, anyway, I have an idea of what I'm going to do for it. Fans. Stick around, listen to Sunday's episode. You'll see what I got in store for you. Should be pretty great. But probably try to get some football in. I'm not sure how exactly we're going to do it. Matty D and I have to have our business meeting. That's our housekeeping. Let's look at next week in baseball. Greg, this weekend, what series are you watching out for?
Well, personally, I'll be watching the Yankees-Red Sox.
However, I was about to say aside from, but we had to mention it.
Yes. However, for the purposes of this, a couple of the teams that I mentioned from earlier, the Milwaukee Brewers are playing a little 3-game set in Colorado. So I'm excited to see that one, as well as Arizona at Minnesota. But honestly, if we're being honest, Jordy, what I'm looking out for is the race for last place. Philadelphia Phillies at the San Francisco Giants. You mentioned it earlier. I hope Pablo Sandoval takes one right in the shoulder or back or head game one. But other than that, let's go Phils. And but Milwaukee, Colorado is the other one I'm looking out for outside of the toilet bowl out there in San Francisco.
So really fun fact. I think we might have talked about this last week on that series quickly. It's not really it's a fact. But you know, ESPN.com, when you go on their schedule, it'll show tickets and available, and it shows the lowest StubHub price.
Yeah, sure, okay.
So Sunday afternoon's game with Madison Bumgarner on the mound for the Giants. Guess how low the price is for the cheapest ticket.
$20.
Divide it significantly.
It's less than $20. Jesus Christ, you can't even get a Red Sox Tampa Bay bullshit game for fucking less than 100. Let's see. Divide 20 significantly. I'm gonna go 5.
Lower than that.
Lower than 5? 4.
It's $2. $2 to see Madison Bumgarner pitch on StubHub.
Is that standing room or is that like legit seats? Jeez, $2.
I don't have the seating chart in front of me, but $2.
Get water.
It's low enough that it makes
it water for $2 at Fenway. You can't even get water for $2. What is
The opportunity cost for me to fly out Sunday morning and fly back Sunday night on a red eye and just go right to my office might be worth it for $2 tickets.
100%, especially if you've never been there before. It definitely is worth it. And if we're being honest, that's a big series. You know, loser gets first.
Yeah. That could be the deciding game that makes the Phillies not in last place. So I should be there to see that. Greg, you're convincing me.
I think you should do it. There's no reason not to. Let's get Phils.
I'm only young once.
You get to see Bumgarner. You get to see $2 tickets. You get to see San Francisco and that beer and all this nonsense, or the.
No, there's beer out there. They have great beer in San Francisco.
Right.
Harpoon. What else is out there?
Harpoon is just a Boston company, and that's just not a San Francisco company.
Anchor San Francisco. I apologize. I got my nautical beers switched.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. But my series, you threw one on for me. I'm pretty excited to see the turnout of Arizona and Minnesota. It's going to be an interesting series. Irvin Santana's on Friday for the Twins. Get a little interesting on Saturday with Jose Barrios versus Zach Greinke. And then on Sunday to wrap that guy up, it's Brandon Shipley versus Big Sexy himself, Bartolo Colon. Arizona walks away, couple wins there, sort of bucking that trend we were talking about with away games. And, who knows the hell that'll go or how that comes. It's not necessarily put up or shut up because they'll still be in a nice spot in terms of the standings, but that's definitely one to keep an eye out for. An interesting one as well might be Toronto Blue Jays coming to Wrigley. The Cubs have been interesting to watch. We referenced their win from the other night, and seeing Toronto come that way. It's not every year that you see Canada come to the friendly confines, so that's definitely a one for our Chicago friends to keep an eye out for.
I love it. Great take. I agree, and honestly, can't go wrong as football starts to heat back up. Now's your time to get in some of those big series. I mean, September baseball is right around the corner, and the playoff series are heating up. So these games and these series are super important. Even winning 2 out of 3 is
major victory.
Major victory. So. Good luck to the Phils. Hope they crush it, and let's go Sox. That's my final word.
Yeah, I like it. And let's go Phils. And like we said before, please go like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We've been doing this YouTube Live, Facebook Hangouts deal for a couple weeks now, and it seems like it's been going pretty well, aside from our little faux pas and getting everything set up tonight, Greg. But, go find us on Twitter. ThunderBLG, again, is our handle. Thunderblog Sports is what to look out for on Facebook and Instagram. And, let's go Phils. Let's go Sox. And I think that'll do it for us. Greg, thank you as always. You are a tremendous co-host.
Jordy, anytime. You're great. The pod's great, and obviously, I'm excited to hear Matty D back on. But anytime I can help you in the pod, I'm there for you. And let's go Sox.
Well, I always appreciate it. And that'll do it for us tonight. For my man, Greg Piatelli, with ThunderblogSports.com's Bullpen Cart. Have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you soon.